couple miles away from New Orleans, there is Honey Island Swamp. Walking through the swamp. We're walking through the swamp, we got those rubber pants on so we won't get wet, but I made sure that yours were just a little too short so they immediately get flooded with water and you sink a bit, and then I have a good chuckle. And while you're dealing with horrible diseases you catch from the swamp, we also go back in time. We're going back to the year 1974. And in 1974, two men emerged from the swamp, Harlan Ford and Billy Mays. Harlan Ford and Billy Mills. They come out of the swamp with a plaster cast of a footprint, and they throw it down on the ground and go, "Proof!" Now, there wasn't anyone around when they did that, so then they had to pick it up and actually go into town, and then they take it into a bar and go, "Proof!" People are like, "Proof of what?" So Harlan Ford and Billy Mills had said that they had once seen a creature that they estimated would weigh about 400 pounds, giant monster man. So, and it had yellow or red glowing eyes, and the difference in the eye color could be chalked up to either what time of day they saw it in or how bloodshot their own eyes were when they were out hunting. Glug glug. But anyways, they come into town with this plaster cast, and people are thinking, well, it kind of sounds like a Bigfoot, Harlan. And he's like, yeah, but this one's different, because look at this plaster cast, and it looks like it had webbed toes. And you can see photos of these. They basically, it looks like it has 4 toes, one's kind of folded in or something weird. But the toes are webbed, it's not like a primate's footprint. And the thing is in 1963, these guys came out of Honey Island Swamp. They're like, this is what we just saw. We were walking through the swamp, we saw a boar with its throat ripped out, and a giant monster. And we went to shoot it, and the monster ran away. Nobody believed them. People are like, you're making that up. You're making that up. So about 9 years later, more like 11 years later, they find a footprint, they go and they pour the plaster in there, bring it back. People are like, here, they go, here's proof. There's proof that there is this monster running around. Nobody believes them. And it's one of those weird things that a lot of communities really like to have, like Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that, because you can sell tchotchkes and things like that. But this would not take off. Harlan dedicated his life to finding proof of the Honey Island Swamp Monster. He was out there consistently after these 2 sightings, and he did bring back other plaster casts. But for whatever reason, the people in the town took it as a myth. They weren't really embracing it. Even today, you have tour guides, and they say this swamp is really beautiful. It's very untouched. You go there to visit. It's just a great place. It's a great recreational place, and they have boat tours. You can take boat tours through the area. I was reading this article one guy did. He said, hey, I'm going to go on this boat tour, check it out. He talks to the 2 tour operators, and they're like, there's no Honey Island Swamp Monster. And it's funny because these people could actually make more money by saying that there was, but they're like, it doesn't exist. It absolutely doesn't exist. There are boat tours you can take where it's called the Honey Island Swamp Monster Boat Tour. But it was funny, in the article where the guy was taking the boat tour, he saw that boat still docked, no one was on it. Because people just want to go and enjoy nature. Even in that area, people aren't like, this creature exists, oh no, I ran into it when me and my uncle were out playing baseball one day and the baseball fell in the swamp. They don't buy it. Which it is odd, but it might just be because the only people who have ever seen it are the 2 people who first saw it, and then the people who started bringing back plaster casts. Harlan Ford was dedicated to finding proof of this thing, so much so that for the next 6 years he was constantly looking for it. Why only 6 years? Because he died in 1980 without ever having any proof, conclusive proof, that what he saw standing over that boar and what was leaving those footprints was real. And it would be a footnote, no pun intended, it would be a footnote in cryptid history about the Honey Island Swamp Monster. It would just be a funny name for a creature that the locals don't believe, that they almost actively dismiss. It's like when people go to towns and start asking for the Blair Witch, they're like, Blair Witch isn't real, it's fake, right? Now, like I was saying, would be a footnote in cryptid history, but the main proponent of it is dead. I don't know what ever happened to Billy Mays. He's a footnote within a footnote. He passed away. There was never any proof. People assumed it was a hoax, and it might have been. But a hoax that has become cemented in the minds of millions of girls everywhere. Monster High dolls are a line of dolls of monster girls that are attending a school called Monster High. So you have Frankenstein, and you have like a Dracula chick and a wolf girl and Laguna Beach or whatever. They're all the daughters of famous monsters. And somehow, all these famous monsters now are also attending Monster High with Honey Swamp, the daughter of the Honey Island Swamp Monster. She's not a Bigfoot, she is like a sea creature thing, so she get rid of all that fur. No girl wants to be covered in fur, be 7 feet tall, or 400 pounds. Some of them might want to be 7 feet tall, but she's just like a creature from the Black Lagoon type creature. She's 115 years in monster years, according to her bio, which is how I'm going to start describing my age. And so here's her bio. Let's learn a little bit about Honey Swamp, since we don't know much about her father. I'm a proper southern ghoul from the swamps of Honey Island. My mama always taught me if you work hard and follow your screams, you can be anything you want to be. Well, I want to be a world-famous cinematographer in Hollywood. Now, I do know how to pronounce the word cinematographer, but the dashes here make me think they're trying to emphasize ogre. Cinematographer, because, you know, she's a monster. She's also friends with Claudia Wolf and Viperine Gorgon, if you want to complete your collection. So he did get that legacy, at least. So Harlan, if you're up there and you're watching down, I hope you're happy with the fact that millions of girls around the world are now playing with dolls named after your hoax. So it wasn't a waste of time. Who would have thought that when you and your buddy one drunken evening decided to go out and start pouring plaster into footprints you made, and that hoax turned in to a worldwide phenomenon? If you play with Monster High dolls. Otherwise, you still don't know about this creature, but good job. Good job, Harlan. You created a hoax, and it became a doll. And I don't think anyone else can claim that. A lot of hoaxes out there, but not all of them attend Monster High. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story. Now, I know that a lot of times when I do these iceberg topics, I go, this is the most requested topic we've had, because at the time they were, but there was one that was constantly gaining people saying, hey, when are you going to do this story? When are you going to do this story? And it's time. The reason why it took so long, these conspiracies are much more time intensive to research. A lot of times people go, do more iceberg conspiracy stuff. And I do, like Kentucky Meat Storm was iceberg conspiracies I really have to get into. They take a while. I enjoy researching these ones. I really enjoy researching them because I'm kind of trying to unravel a puzzle. It can just take a while because they keep running into roadblocks and go, oh, now I'm back to square one. On YouTube, this was requested by Bent Fox, by Red Baron. On email, there was Matthew T, Jimmy M, and on Twitter, I had Harrison. All of these people requested Mudflood. Now you go, Mudflood? What is Mudflood? The year is 2019. The place, wherever you're at right now. It may just seem like a normal day. But you remember in the back of your mind, you remember when you were in school learning about this day. It was the day after humanity decided to start building out of the mud. This was the day when humanity said the mud flood would no longer hold us back. You remember learning in school about the great excavations of Europe, how they had to dig cities out of tons of mud that came rushing down from the mountains. You also remember hearing stories about the American frontier, where the mud just smashed into buildings, burying them up to a floor deep until humanity decided to take back the land. And you reflect back on that day that you learned about all those years ago in school. What an amazing feat of human engineering that we were able to clear out that much dirt and regain control of this planet. But that 2019, that place where you are, that exists in an alternate timeline. Because in this timeline, not only did the mud stay, but the powers that be covered the entire thing up. The Great Mud Flood is a very, very interesting conspiracy theory, and for this one, I'd been working on it for quite a while. I actually reached out to a friend of mine, Mitchum. I was like, I do not know what to make of this. There has to be a rational explanation. This one, I was completely stuck in. And none of these are mud puns. None of this stuff like digging out of a hole or getting stuck and stuff like that. None of these are mud puns. I remember reaching out to my friend Mitchum and I sent him some stuff and I said, I don't know what to make of this. I do not know what to make of this. I go, it has to be fake. It has to be. This is what the Great Mud Flood is. This is the theory. In the 1860s to 1870s, a massive wave of mud covered the earth and buried most of our cities up to 8 to 12 feet in mud. And you think, well, that's stupid. That's obviously not true. The evidence for it is videos and photos of buildings all over the world buried up to the first floor in mud. So you will see buildings that have window, like you can see the top of a window sticking out of the cement. Like you can see where the ground is, and then you see on the building there is definitely the shape of where a window would have been that's been bricked up, and now the street is level to that window. You'll see pictures of what appear to be formerly first floors of buildings that are now basements. Odd doors that you have to walk downstairs to get into the front door. You'll see photos of excavations where they were doing road work, and you'll see a building that has, and again, an entire first floor with entrance doors and windows, so they weren't originally basements. They're excavating this. You'll see a front door and windows underneath the ground. And I'm looking at these things and I'm thinking, okay, these photos are real. There's actually a building that I know of that has the windows sticking out of the ground corner. So these photos are real. These photos are not photoshopped. And I'm looking at them and I'm watching these videos and I'm thinking, yes, that evidence is real. Those buildings are farther underground than they should be. A front door should not be underground. But the idea that a mud flood covered the planet and buried all of these buildings, I was thinking, that's not true. Now, see, here's the thing. The theory, there's more to the theory. So not only did the mud flood come over, but it was covered up to hide. It was basically used as a hard reset on humanity. Because there was this super advanced civilization that was so wonderful and at peace, and they had all these amazing pieces of technology and this free energy and these super weapons, even though they were peaceful, and it was like this multicultural, multi-religious society that existed before 1860s. And the mud flood came. Super technology didn't help them stop that. And at that time, the powers that be, whatever boogeyman you want it to be, said, we're going to wipe them off the map, and we're going to say they never existed, and we're going to use this mud to basically bury everything that's proof of them, and do like a hard reset on the history of the world. So I can buy, so basically I'm working against two conspiracy theories. One, the civilization, the super advanced civilization that's been wiped off the map. And two, a history reset due to the mud flood. Oh, and then three, just the geographical features itself. Now, alternate history is easy to kind of look into. But I'm looking at these photos and watching these videos and I'm thinking, I cannot figure this out. But that was the main piece I really needed to tackle, and that's why this took so long. I talked to Mitchum, and I sent him this stuff, and I go, this is killing me. This is killing me. There has to be a rational explanation for this. And he actually pointed me in the right path on the mud flood thing, which is really interesting. Now, what I'm about to go into, you could say, I'm going to present this, and you could say, well, that's not the case in this city, and that's not the case in this city. But I think it's close enough, and I have enough proof for enough cities that it applies to most of them. There were massive rain floods in the 1860s around the world. There was this huge storm system, And there's geographical and historical records of these massive rainstorms that cause flooding everywhere, almost all over the planet. And when we look at these buildings that have been covered up by the